I'm excited to introduce you to my good friend, someone who I've actually worked with prior to the Nest early in my career. Actually, my first kind of youth development job I ever had, working for UC Santa Cruz in the MESA program. I had the pleasure of working with Bronwyn Moreno, who's our moderator for the next panel. You're going to love her. Fabulous energy, great laugh. Let's see if you can make her laugh. All right, y'all. Introducing Bronwyn Moreno. Take it away.
Thank you so much to our esteemed leader, Jacob. Thank you for this amazing opportunity. I'm super excited to be here, honored to be serving as your panel moderator for your final session of Nest Flight 2022. So if you're here with us, this is very significant because this means that you have made an investment in your future success. And so I want to just start by honoring all of our youth who are here, who are making this commitment to themselves and their family today. So round of applause for all of you. We appreciate you. And then to all of our industry professionals who are here joining us, thank you for mentoring our youth and for your commitment to being lifelong learners. So if you're going to stay here in this panel with us, welcome. We appreciate you. Round of applause for each of you. The title of this panel is Finding Passion Outside of the Job Description. And so for those of us who have been, in professional roles for a while, we know how important passion is to our success. And for me personally, this theme really resonated very deeply with me. I was fortunate to find my personal passion for creating economic advancement opportunities for underprivileged youth and families at a very young age. And that passion has allowed me to traverse many different roles and many different challenges because I was always grounded by that guiding light. And passion can also give you the fuel and motivation that you need to overcome challenges and ensure your future success. So we're so happy to bring to you today some expert leaders in their respective industries who are going to share how they have found their own passion and how it has also contributed to their success. So with that, I'm very excited to introduce our panelists for today. We have Camille Schultz.
Hey, Bronwyn, thanks so much. I'm super excited for this conversation and so happy to be here. So thank you to the Nest.
Yes, and I'll also introduce Jennifer DeQuisto.
Thank you. I'm also, like Camille said, very excited to be here and to be able to speak with all of you today. So thanks for having me.
Wonderful. And then I'll just start I'm going to go ahead and read your bios just for a little bit of background, and then we're going to get right into this exciting discussion. So thank you for sharing your wisdom and expertise with us today. So beginning with Camille. Camille Schultz is a recruiter at Pendo.io, a business-to-business software as a service platform focused on digital transformation. She is an expert in diversity and inclusion, culture, and recruiting top talent. So we definitely need to pick this one's brain here. Her background is in talent acquisition at venture-funded startups in the blockchain, ad tech, and business intelligence spaces. Camille lives in Watsonville, and has a passion for coaching early career candidates to get their first jobs in tech. Yay, welcome, Camille. Thank you. How does that sound to our youth out there? Are you guys excited? Okay, and then on to Jennifer. Jennifer is the president and market executive for Bank of America Monterey Bay Market. Women leaders, rejoice. In this role, she's responsible for business integration and collaboration across the bank's 8 lines of business to deliver one company, drive responsible growth, strengthen our communities, and improve the financial lives of our clients. Jennifer also leads the development and execution of the market strategic plan, oversight of the bank's local philanthropic contribution, and management of B of A communities sponsorships. Jennifer has over 20 years of experience leading marketing, branding, communication, and community programs in the financial services and community development sectors. Jennifer holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in communications from Notre Dame de Namur University, and she enjoys spending time with her husband and their 2 children. Thank you, Jennifer, for being here. Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, and thanks. It looks like we have a great audience here. I want to remind the audience that this is all about you. And so please, we want your questions. We want to hear from you. We want you to use this session to give you that energy, that fuel, that knowledge, that wisdom that you need to take yourself to the next level. So you've already made that investment of being here. So we'd love to hear from you. So please go ahead and drop your questions in the chat, and we'll have time at the end to respond to those. So we look forward to hearing from the audience as well. So with that, I am excited to kick it off. We're going to start with an opening question, and I would like to pose this to both of our panelists. As you both know, and as I have experienced, career journeys are rarely a straight path, right? We might expect to land somewhere, but there's unexpected twists and turns. So what challenges have each of you faced in getting to where you are today? And how has that shaped what you are passionate about?
I sure can, although I was going to let Camille go first, but that's okay. I can go first. I would say that it has not been a straight line is probably the easiest way to put it for me. Actually just recently, about a week ago, I was talking to someone that works at Business, as a matter of fact, and he was talking about his kind of career interest and how he started with one thing and really didn't like it. And so he had to shift and try something new. And now he's in a position that he's really happy with and excelling at. And I would say that's been my experience as well, right? Like I've definitely had jobs that they didn't, click for me, or they didn't sync for me, or I didn't feel like passionate about. But I actually think that's really important, because knowing what you don't want to do is as important as figuring out what you do want to do, because it's by process of elimination, you try new things. And I really think from every experience, you're learning something about yourself and the direction you want to go. So, Camille, would
Absolutely.
you like to add?
Absolutely, Jennifer. I 100% agree with you. And I had a really meandering journey. So right now, I'm a recruiter, but I knew I wanted to get into tech, and I didn't just get into recruiting right away. I had to try to get my foot in the door. Started in customer support. Then I moved into more of a marketing role, then HR, and I sort of along my career journey was able to really identify what I love to do every day and craft my career journey to get to where I am now, which is my dream job. It's not easy and it's not always fun. Parts of those jobs were really hard or really didn't click with my interests and my passions. But through learning what I don't like to do, I can then get a lot more focused on what I do like to do.
Thank you both. I'm definitely hearing from you both that you've had experiences where you were in a job where you felt that it wasn't a fit. Mm-hmm. But we might not necessarily recommend that youth go down that path. Is there any advice that you can give them now for helping them identify what they're passionate about now to better direct them?
Absolutely. I think one of the big things is talking to people in your network, expanding your network to try to get that information from those around you. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to forge a path with no information. You can lean on those around you to help give you insight or help steer you in the right direction. So, mentorship relationships are really important. Community relationships are really important. And, we're all human. We all want to help each other. So don't be afraid to ask somebody their opinion or their advice. Hey, I like to do X, Y, and Z. I don't know what career path I need to choose, but I know I want to focus there. Or maybe I don't know where I want to focus, but I enjoy X, Y, and Z, and start having some of those conversations with, even people in your family, people in your network. And I think, through those conversations, hopefully you can glean some insights about where you can focus in terms of, finding the best career path for you.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, I've certainly trusted, or confided in people that I know and trust, or friends, family, and even had conversations about, what do you think I'm good at? Like what kinds of skills do you think I bring to the table? So, find some people that you really do value their opinion, that know you well, because they might identify things about you that you don't even realize that you're really gifted at, or you may not see these beautiful qualities in yourself, or these wonderful skills you have. So I think that's a great, really great point. I also love what Camille said about, get involved, find other opportunities, right? Whether it's involvement through the community, take a class. I mean, at one point, I had actually just had my first baby, and somebody offered me a job doing home loans, which I know you all think I work for a bank and that's a perfect fit, but I actually knew nothing about home loans and that kind of area of the business. But that job actually gave me a lot of flexibility and an opportunity to work from home at a time that I really needed it. And, ultimately I didn't want to, process home loans, but I learned so much about myself, and I got out of my comfort zone, and I gained new skills that I probably would not, typically have been so inclined to try a new kind of job or position like that. But because I had just had a baby and I needed flexibility, I was willing to put myself out there. And, it actually, I also think doing things like that, you gain a lot of confidence, right? You learn a new skill, and maybe you feel a little bit vulnerable, but then when you learn it and you kind of, master it, or it's really confidence. It's a confidence builder.
So true, Jennifer. And that's huge. You can't go to the store and buy that. You have to have an experience that helps build that within you. And I just wanted to bank off something else you said, stepping outside of your comfort zone, but also it sounds like your organization sort of identified a skill or a value that you could bring that maybe you weren't as thoughtful or aware of, it wasn't what was happening in your brain. But basically what I wanted to highlight was there are two sides of that coin. You want to find something that you're passionate about that aligns with you. And you also want to identify where you can bring value to an organization or a company or a job or whatever that is. And usually you want both of those pieces to be there. You want to love it, but you also want it to bring value to the organization so that you can really succeed in that role and continue to build your career. So that can be an interesting way to frame it in your brain. If you're doing some brainstorming around where do I fit, where do I want to go, is where can I bring the most value?
Yeah, really good point. And companies love that too, because you learn more about the company, right? Holistically. So there's a lot of paths to career growth, and that's a really good one, Camille.
Thank you so much, both of you, for your reflections on that. And feel free to just jump in with each other as well. Don't wait for my question. So, Jennifer, this question's for you because we read in your bio, that you're a mother, and it's come up in this discussion. We know how important family is to you. How has your passion for sometimes there's a misconception that family actually hurts us, hurts our careers. So how has your passion for family actually enriched your career? Would you care to share?
I would love to share. And first, I'm going to start with a little story. So, I am a mother. I have two children. My daughter is 13. She's almost 14. She'll be 14 in June. And my son is 12. And I've had a career essentially since before they were born, right? So I've always been a working mom. But a few years ago, I was working for a company, and all I did was work. Honestly, I had no balance. Like, I was not home enough. I was always stressed about work. I was working a lot more than, 40 hours a week. And I just talk about passion. There's no job that's more important to me than being a mom, right? That's my number one priority. That's my number one passion. I love my kids more than anything in the world. And I ended up leaving that job in that company because every day I didn't feel good. I didn't feel like I was fulfilling my like life goals or what was important to me. I wasn't living, I wasn't being true to myself, and I wasn't being the mother that I wanted to be. And so I left, and I actually ended up taking a job. I took almost a year off. I took my job with Bank of America because they were in Working Mothers magazine for many, many years and continue to be as a number one workplace for moms. And during the interview process, I was very forthcoming with the woman that ultimately hired me, my boss, and said, I'm a mom first. And I've resigned from my last job because I wasn't able to be a mom first. So I am definitely passionate about my family. I now have a job where I can be a mom first, and I have, the flexibility I need for my children to be there for them. But I also think, today we're talking about passion. I think it's so important to have healthy boundaries, right? All of you should be passionate about something other than your work. You should be passionate about skiing or surfing or, singing or musical theater or whatever it is, because that's what feeds your soul. That's what fills you up. And ultimately, you want to be able to combine both your work and your passion. And, if you can do that, you're very, very lucky. But you want to have a healthy balance in your life. It's critical to your well-being. So I think I answered your question, Bronwyn, in a roundabout way.
Grill you more on that later. Okay, that sounds great. Yeah. Camille. So we're talking about finding passion to fulfill your soul outside of work. But I know, Camille, you're an expert in company culture and matching different types of talents with different types of organizations. So could you break that down for us a bit? What is company culture, and why is that so important to find something that is a fit for you?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to dive in there. And I really feel strongly about this. I want to empower everyone on this call to think about this. You deserve to work at a place that really aligns to your personal values. You absolutely should find a company that you love working for. There's plenty of them out there. And if you're not happy, I love, Jennifer, really showing your boundaries and being true to yourself is so important, because we're all humans. We're whole humans. We're not just employees. We have a whole world outside of work. And so when I think about company culture, I think about a lot of different things, but one of the big ones is the values of that company. And one of the big things that I'd like to empower everybody here is when you're interviewing for a job, you are interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you. Ask those questions, bring those thoughtful remarks, and you can pick up little hints along the way where it's not even a straight question, but you really want to find a company and an organization that aligns. So when I think about company values, do you want to work at an organization that, really promotes work-life balance? That's a huge one for a lot of us. Maybe, you're early in your career, you're hungry, you're going hard, you want to find a early stage startup where it's like all hands on deck and we're working till 7 p.m. and we're going to IPO, whatever that is that fires you up, try to find an organization of, people that are in that same mindset and have those same values. The other thing that I think is really important is a lot of diversity within a company, different people, different backgrounds, different beliefs, different affinities, different identities, like all these different diverse people, I think really create a powerful company to work for, a powerful community to be a part of. So I think it's really important, if that's something that aligns to you, is really suss that out when you're interviewing or talking to a company. And then it's kind of like, what does that day-to-day work life feel like, look like? What are the goals of the company? What are the values of the company? Within your own team that you're going to get hired into, what does that look like? What does that feel like? And those are all important pieces when finding your next opportunity. It's not just the job and the job description. All of those other things play such a huge part in your day-to-day happiness at work.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I know that when I found the Digital Nest, I thought I found my people, because the whole mission of the organization is aligned with my life's work. So regardless of, how hard I work or how challenging it is, I feel at home and I feel that deeper sense of connection and purpose. So that your comments really resonated with me, and it took me 20 years to find it. So,
and like Jennifer said, we end up spending so much of our time at work. We sleep, we eat, and we work, and we have, family, friends, or passions or interests. Let's take a 24-hour day and chop that up. Guess what? Work's a huge part of that. So yes, you want to bring value. Yes, you want to find a job, a work that really resonates with you. But the other parts of it, the culture, the people, the goals, are such a huge piece of making sure that 8 hours a day is meaningful to you.
And if I may ask you a follow-up question, Camille, you offered our youth that they can interview employers, right? Prospective employers as well, to make sure that they're finding an organization or company that is the right cultural fit for their values. Some of our youth might not feel confident or empowered to have those discussions. What advice could you offer to a new entry-level job seeker in navigating that balance?
Totally. I really actually very much empathize with that. When I was a new grad, when I was in high school trying to get, one of my first jobs, like, you just want a job, you just want to get your foot in the door, you just want an opportunity. And so you might not feel like you have the wherewithal or the opportunity to interview back. But I want to just stress that oftentimes asking questions about the culture, about the company goals, that shows that you're really engaged. That shows that you want this job. That shows to an employer or an interviewer that you're really serious about this company and this opportunity. So I would not say that any company or interviewer would take that as a negative. They would see that as that you're leaning in and that you're excited about this and you can really see yourself being there. So, you can craft your questions in a way that's very open-ended. It's not an interrogation. It's not, tell me about your strategy. And if it's not there, then I'm not going to take this job. It's more about, gosh, I'm so excited about this potential opportunity. I'd love to learn more about how company culture is. What are the goals of the company? What are the things that you love about working here? What are some of the challenges you faced? Or what are some of the opportunities that this department has in changing how they work? And asking questions in sort of a nice open-ended framework way, you'll get a lot of real honesty from people because they're not always expecting it. And even if they are, a lot of people are really willing to be candid in an interview or as part of a hiring process. I think it's really important to get, kind of behind the curtain and say, what is work like for you here at this company? What do you think it will be like for me? And just thinking of an interview or thinking of that as a conversation. that's really what it is. You like try to leave your nerves at the door as much as you can, and say, the goal here is they want to find somebody to do this job, and I want to see if this job is a good fit for me. So let's just have a conversation about if that's the case.
Yeah, I was just going to add, I think those are amazing comments, and you can tell you're a recruiter because you're very good. You definitely know your stuff, Camille. I was just going to add, a lot of times you can find out a lot of information about a company's mission or their values by doing some online research, right? And then if you go into the interview and you say, okay, I saw that diversity and inclusion is a big value of, whatever X company. How does that show up? Like, what does that actually mean? Because then you get some really kind of concrete examples, and it helps you sort of identify, okay, is this a good fit for me?
Absolutely. And with my recruiter hat on, I just have to say, if somebody says that to me in an interview, I'm very excited to move them forward because they're showing that active interest in the company. They did a little bit of research ahead of time, and they're tying back what they learned to their particular skills or their particular passions. And so when a candidate is able to make that connection in a conversation with me, I get really fired up.
Yeah.
That's great. And I think you both answered the question in the chat there, which is a follow-up question, which is there any ways to find out about company culture before the interview itself? So we talked about looking online, looking at the mission and vision. Any other tips?
Yeah. So I think companies, are really often vocal about their mission, their values. So doing some poking around on the website, but I'm sure we've all heard of Glassdoor. If you're looking at a new job, that's a great place to look. And I will caveat and say Glassdoor, take it with a grain of salt. It is not always the truth. It's not always the end all be all. But if you start to see a pattern and some feedback that people are giving, I'm working till 10 p.m. every night, and the leadership just doesn't seem to have any, emphasis on work-life balance. If you see a couple of people say that, that's something to kind of consider. And then you might be able to craft a question. Let's say you're interviewing, you could say, gosh, I was doing some great research. I'm so excited about this company. One thing I saw is that, there seems to be a lot of workload. I want to just learn a little bit more about that. I'm, really motivated. I'm really excited to do this job. And I just wanted to, like Jennifer said, see how that shows up for you. You don't have to kind of call them on it or drill them on it. You can sprinkle it in a way that feels very approachable, but you can get some good information.
Yeah, the only other idea I have is networking, right? So if you're not on LinkedIn, LinkedIn is an incredibly valuable and important tool. And oftentimes through your contacts on LinkedIn, you may be able to find somebody that knows somebody at this company, right, that you're interviewing with, even if if you don't know them directly. But if you have a friend that has another friend that works there, they may be willing to introduce you, and you can just, have a conversation. What's it like to work there? Do you enjoy it? What's the culture like? What's the, work-life balance like? That kind of insight is always really, really helpful too.
That is such important advice, Jennifer. 100% agree with you.
And so I think, along the lines of company culture, I was surprised to hear that, Jennifer, that you found your fit at Bank of America. I think there is, probably some of us have a belief that these major, large corporations like Bank of America, don't offer that type of culture that can help us live our passions or bring our passion to work with us. But you found that there. So yeah, could you share with us a little bit more about how you've actually used your role at Bank of America to help you act on your passion for families and uplifting individuals?
Sure, I would love to. I'd love to talk about my job because I think I definitely found my passion. And I alluded to it earlier and said, when you find, the optimum experience, right, is to be able to have a job that also aligns to your passion. And, when you can combine them and do that every day, it's pretty amazing. So I will first say that when, just to kind of dive into like the culture part of it, Bank of America, you're absolutely right. Bronwyn is 200,000 employees, global, huge, massive company, right? But when we talk about values, there's one, there's so many, but one that really particularly resonates with me. And that is we have a focus on every employee should be able to bring their whole selves to work, right? So that means show up as you are at work. So in my case, I'm a mom, right? I'm a woman. But, if you're transgender, if you're Hispanic, it doesn't really matter. If you're a working parent, there's all these different clubs. I call them clubs, they're networks, but they combine all these different groups of people, right? So that there is synergy and alignment, because ultimately, our customers at Bank of America are everybody the people in our communities, right? So as a company, we want to represent the communities that we serve. So it's very important that we get employee, and we call ourselves teammate perspective, because that helps us. That helps us do our work better and understand our communities. In my particular case, one of the things that I love is being involved in the local community. And my job, actually, I do a few different things, but one big component of my job is finding investments in the local community. So that's right here in Monterey Bay. It covers Santa Cruz County, Monterey County, San Benito County is like my territory. And my job is to find organizations that Bank of America can invest in. So as an example, we invest in Digital Nest. We invest in Digital Nest because Digital Nest is upskilling youth in our area for careers in technology, right? That is something so meaningful to me because, I live here. My kids go to school here. I have friends and family that live in this community. I want to see our community raise up. I want to see the people in our community celebrated and appreciated for their skills and be able to work and give back to our local community. So that's one example of how my job and my passions have aligned, right? It's my job to find good investments, and we find investments that empower people in our community to increase, we call it economic mobility, like increase their financial status, be able to go and get good jobs. So that's one of the reasons I have the best job in the world. I am very passionate about my work.
Thank you for sharing, and thank you for the wonderful work that you're leading in my community too, our community. So thank you for that. And we're getting some amazing questions in the chat. So I think we should, if you guys are up for it, I think
let's do it.
We can improvise. And let's go to the chat and just get some of these questions. So we have one for you, Camille. We have, what are some of the best questions you've gotten from candidates that made you want to hire them?
Oh, I love it. So a lot of those questions have to do with that engagement, about I want to work here. This is the value that I bring, and I want to understand more about this company because I know that my value can really add a lot to it. So asking questions around what the values of the company are, and then being able to reply back to that of, oh, okay, it sounds like one of your values is, to give you an example of at my job, one of the values is show me the data. We love to tell a story with data. So I might tell the candidate, show me the data. And then the candidate comes back and says, Oh, I'm so glad that, you're bringing that up as a value at your company. In fact, this is how I've used data in my projects at school or in my past role, and kind of tying it back to how they might be a part of that. Or one of your values is work-life balance. Gosh, that really means a lot to me. I have passions outside of work, and super excited. So you can ask about values. Jennifer brought up a great point. Bring up the mission. Asking questions about the goals. That's the big one. What are the goals of this department? What are your goals as a manager? What are the goals of the company? That shows that you're really bought into what that organization is doing and what the long-term work is. So I love it when somebody asks me about goals. And just a little icing on top, one of the really powerful questions you can ask in an interview is, at the end of the interview, you can say, I've really enjoyed my conversation today. Is there anything about my background or experience that gives you any hesitation? I'd love a chance to speak to that while we're still on the phone or in the Zoom. Boom. If I get that question from somebody, hats off. I am very impressed. So essentially, we call that closing the interview. But what you're doing is you're saying, this is just a conversation. And I don't want you to walk out of this room having a question about me without giving me a chance to talk to you about it. So they might have a hesitation about moving you forward in the interview. You're asking them to tell you about it. It can be really scary, but it can be a really powerful way to make sure you move on to the next step.
I love that. It also shows an element of self-awareness, right? Like you're self-aware, like, okay, I may have misstated something, or let me clarify, or, give me an opportunity, and humility too. Sometimes it's hard to put yourself out there and be a little vulnerable, but humility is a good thing.
Really hard. I totally agree, but I think it's a powerful piece. Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. And then while we're on the topic of interviews and job seeking, there's a question related to experience and the importance of experience in an interview. And the question is work experience the most important thing to have in an interview? And I think I could maybe expand on that a little bit and say, if somebody doesn't have a lot of formal work experience, do you have any particular advice on how they can frame their experience to be more effective?
Totally. I actually really love this question, because I think this gets to the root of a lot of the challenges that new grads, early job seekers come across. You need 3 years of experience. How do I get 3 years of experience if nobody will give me my first job? So my philosophy, my belief is, that is not the most important thing. Do not let that get in your way mentally. The most important thing is the value you can bring to an organization. Now, it can be really hard to get a conversation, to get that foot in the door, if the resume doesn't reflect the exact job requirements. So I empathize with that. But I would say that a lot of the time, the values piece is weighed more heavily than the skills piece. And let me break that down on what I mean. So I hire a lot of salespeople, and we have values at my company around being a team player. We call it win together. What that means is no jerks. Nobody that is mean, rude, disrespectful, or arrogant. We do not really have room for that at our company. We are team players. We all lift boxes together. Like, that's what we call it. We call it box lifters, the digital box, if you will. So I might talk to somebody that's the number one salesperson in their company. They're crushing the game. They're closing deals left and right. They've got millions of dollars in their pipeline. And if they're rude or disrespectful, nope, they will not get the job. I will not move them forward in the process, and nobody else will want to talk with them either, should they have a conversation. So in that sense, I think the soft skills or who you are or how you behave in an organization is more important than the actual skills. Skills can be taught. The way you show up every day, you can't really teach that. So showing up, being a team player, working together, that appetite for learning is huge. If I talk to somebody and they're like, yes, I have the skills and hire me or not, versus I talk to somebody that says, I might not have this one piece, but here's how I'm learning about it. Here's what I'm really excited for. This is how I've learned a skill in the past. And that person's engaged and excited. That person's going to get the job. So I would say that skills are not the most important. They are very important, don't get me wrong, but there are ways to kind of come at a job hunt where you can shine in other areas. And oftentimes that can get you the job more than other things.
Awesome. Jennifer, anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I didn't know if I should jump in or not because I want to get to the other questions, but mostly I agree. I mean, we don't want to hire jerks at Bank of America either, right, Camille? I mean, look, nobody can do their job alone. I mean, it's all about teamwork. I said it earlier, we refer to ourselves at Bank of America as teammates. It's intentional. There's a reason behind it because nobody is going to be successful on their own. So we have a very deliberate culture around working together, around collaboration and teamwork. And it's absolutely true that if you are someone that can't get along with others or you're very arrogant, you're not going to last very long. It won't work out. So you want to be, I said it earlier, humility is important, right? Don't go in like, I know it all. Humility is very important, and be willing to learn and be willing to put in the work and work with others to be successful.
Beautiful. Thank you for adding that, because I think, through your comments, it also sparked, that's I would say one of the greatest strengths of our youth is their humility and their collaborative spirit, because, many of our youth come from, close-knit families. They're very dedicated to uplifting. They're loyal to their parents, helping siblings and really committed to uplifting community. And I think those are really unique strengths that our youth possess. And so, what advice could you give them in terms of using that passion and using their unique strengths and bringing their whole authentic selves into the job market and into industry?
Yeah, I mean, I'll elaborate a little bit more on what I said earlier, which is, again, for Bank of America, our teammates at the bank need to be reflective of our community, right? And so to understand who our clients are is really important. That's how we relate. And our clients are from all different walks of life. And, they have different interests. They have different challenges. They come from all over. They're different ethnic backgrounds. They're different sexualities. They're, different genders, whatever. And being accepting and open to all of those people helps us be better as we're serving our clients. And so we hire people from all different walks of life too. I think it's one of the things that actually makes us such a strong company to work for, because you're accepted at Bank of America no matter who you are. And I think that's, for me, that was one of the values that I was looking for in my new company. And I think it just makes us much better. And a stronger company and one that can serve our customers well.
Oh, wow. I'm with you. I'm going to apply at Bank of America, Jennifer. Like, that's incredible. I love it. No, I'm just kidding. But isn't that amazing? And I just want to tie that back to something you were talking about earlier, Bronwyn, around like kind of the larger corporate world. And sometimes that feels like a little bit of a scary place, or it's a black box. We can't really see inside. What is it really like? And is it going to be very corporate? And, I really held that belief early in my career. I thought, yeah, I'm going to go work at these little tiny startups where I can kind of do whatever we want. And, that's really fun. But I will say that larger companies tend to have a lot more resources. They have money to put behind external programs or those passions outside of your job description. Larger companies tend to put a little bit more money where their mouth is, just to put it plainly, in that area. So one thing that I think is really amazing is, getting involved in an employee resource group or a club that aligns to who you are as a person. Find, peers or mentors or people that you can really identify with, because that is what's going to get you through the hard days. You need community, you need mentors, you need resources. And I think, having people in your corner that you can trust, that you can rely on, that you can be your whole true authentic self with, that's going to make the difference for you in your life. As Jennifer said, we don't do any of this alone. We don't do our jobs alone. And I think it's really important to build that community, and you have to take an active stab at it. Like, you have to try. It's not going to come to you, but finding it within yourself to have a little bit of that vulnerability or being proactive about getting involved will be huge.
And sometimes, some of these different skills that you may have can actually, make you more desirable, right? Like, for example, if you speak Spanish, if you speak Spanish in the Monterey Bay area, a lot of our clients speak Spanish, right? I don't speak Spanish. It's a skill I don't possess. But trust me, we need people that can speak Spanish, because many of our clients speak Spanish, and that's relatable. So there's a lot. That's just one example that comes to mind, but there's a lot of examples like that out there. Use your special skills and your experiences to your benefit, because not everybody has that. It's something unique and important that you bring to the table.
I love that. And I thank you for honoring our youth that way and seeing them, seeing the value. Because I think in some ways they come with superpowers, because they're navigating multiple worlds at the same time. And it's a very unique skill set that will serve them well in the workplace. So thank you both for highlighting that and recognizing that. It's really important for us to validate them and let them know how skilled and talented they are and how much they have to offer. So,
I just had one thought, and because you said youth, right, a couple of times. And trust me, just the fact that your youth is important, right? So many of our customers, not just for Bank of America, but, for any organization, right? They're your age group. And they're important clients, and they're important customers. And, that's a perspective. Me at 48, I don't have that youth perspective anymore, right? So I come from a whole different perspective. But the perspective and the experiences you're bringing are critical, because that's our customer base. That's how you're going to help us acquire more people just from that alone. So use that to your benefit.
Thank you. And we have about 10 minutes left. So this hour is flying by. And so we have another question in the chat for both panelists. Have you ever had a mentor? And what is some of the best advice you've ever received from them?
Do you want to go first, Camille, or should I?
Sure. I'm happy to dive in, Jennifer. And I could talk about this all day. I always wanted a mentor when I was a student and when I was in college. I really wanted a mentor, and I didn't know how to find one. And eventually, just through different job opportunities, through networking, I found a couple of important people in my life that I could look at where they were in their lives. And really, I admired that. And I said, whatever they did to get there, I want to learn about that because I want to be there someday myself. So I actually have two really important mentors in my life. One is kind of like my personal mentor, and one is kind of like my work mentor. So my personal mentor was somebody that helped influence me on how to be a whole person. Early in my career, I was really focused on work and it wasn't serving me. It wasn't actually the best thing for me as an individual, and it didn't serve my organization that well either because I was getting really burnt out and I wanted to quit. So my personal mentor helped me see the benefits of really truly being a whole person and having these passions and things. And we continue to have a great relationship today where she always reminds me, and cheers me on. And then I had my work mentor who I just got so blessed with, and she showed me what good looks like. She showed me what the gold standard is. She said, this is good. This is how you do good. And I took that, I ate it up, I ate it for breakfast. I learned more skills and was able to grow in my career, make a big impact. And now I'm able to do that with other people, on my team that might be new or younger in their career. I can just pass that information on. And I just feel so lucky. So don't be discouraged if maybe you don't have a mentor right now. It can be kind of an organic process that evolves as your career evolves. But certainly really important, I would say, to invest in those relationships. It's a two-way street.
Yeah, I agree 100%. First of all, I like you, always wanted a mentor, right? And I don't know that I've ever had a relationship with anyone where I said, will you be my mentor? Right? It sort of just naturally evolves. But I'll say when I reflect back on my life and my career, I have had many mentors. I just didn't know it. I just didn't realize it. So, and it started early. I mean, when I was in high school, I'm the only person in my family to have gone to college, right? So I was in high school and I knew I wanted to go to college. I have amazing parents, but they didn't go to college and they didn't really know how to help me. They really didn't know. But I had an aunt that really did sort of help me and guide me. And so at the time, I didn't know she was my mentor, but she was, right? And then throughout my career, I've had different leaders or different colleagues that I trusted, that I could confide in, that I could ask questions to. And I now realize that they were mentoring me all along in that process. So now I would say through my job now, I actually have 3 mentors and they're, very official and it's, kind of done. It's part of an enterprise-wide program. But just because you don't have somebody that is your, named mentor doesn't mean you don't have mentors. I think you're probably being mentored by a lot of different people in your life. And just, when you have relationships where you can trust and learn from those people, those are mentoring relationships.
And I would say there's some serious mentoring going down right now. So, I want to chime in on that because I had such a similar experience in my journey, never thinking that I had a mentor. And then when I found a female supervisor leader who was amazing, and I identified, okay, she's my mentor. And I had her up on this pedestal. And then when I found out she was a human being, I felt, let down. And then it took me a while and some maturity to realize that your mentor doesn't have to have all of the qualities that you're looking for mentoring in. They could have some very strong qualities that you don't have that you can learn from, but then you can look for other mentors in other areas. And so similar to you, Camille, I have a friend who has an amazing marriage. So when I look about healthy relationships, she's a great mentor in terms of that, or a professional. I have many different professional mentors that serve me in different ways because they have different types of skill sets. I have a friend who's super calm and collected and thoughtful about things. So if I'm feeling kind of heated, I can call her and she'll, calm me down. So I just, I wanted to chime in that You can have many, many different mentors, and they don't necessarily have to be older than you either. They could be peers. And so, collect those folks around you. And even if it makes it awkward to label it as a mentor-mentee relationship, you don't have to do that. Just in your mind, you're learning from that person.
That's right. That's right.
So we are preparing to come to a close. So, and if there's no more, get your questions in the chat now. Last call for questions in the chat. Otherwise, I want to give the last word to our amazing panelists. And we always like to, close it out with just some final words of wisdom, final words of advice. We want to bring it back to our topic today, which is really, finding your passion. And I have started to think about that passion as kind of like the rocket fuel in that little jet that you have, behind you, could take you to amazing heights that you didn't think you could achieve. So my final question for you all is, what do you wish you had known as a young professional starting your career about, identifying your passion and how to use that? What advice can you give to them now, moving forward, that you wish you had when you were their age?
For me, when I look back and think, okay, when I was in my early 20s, or what do I wish I had known? Really, I wish I had known everything's going to be okay. Because trust me when I say, it has not been an easy journey. And there have been times where I was working really hard and I felt like I failed, or, maybe I wasn't in the right job, or wasn't setting healthy boundaries, working too much, all of those things. But again, and I know I said it at the very beginning, but that's how you learn. And so I wish I could say to my 20-year-old self, you know what, it's going to be okay. And in the hard times, you're learning something. And in the great times, you're learning something. But hard work will never steer you wrong. Stay true to who you are, work hard, but set healthy boundaries so you do have a full life outside of the workplace too. And just trust yourself. I think that's really the biggest thing, because through all of that, you are going to find your passion, and everything's going to be okay.
Oh, I love that, Jennifer. Thank you so much. I that resonates with me. It's going to be okay. I think we all need to hear that. Our 20-year-old selves, our however old we are, we always need to hear that. I think for me, a lot of that rings true. What I would kind of tell my 20-year-old self is, or my 15-year-old self is, and I still struggle with this today. This is not something I have all the way figured out, but it's okay to be you, truly, authentically you. It's okay to be you. It's okay to show up as you. We all have fears. We all want to do it right, the right way. We all want to behave or show up the right way so that we can get to whatever goals we have, or this idea of success that we have. And oftentimes that is almost in direct opposition of actually getting us to our goal. So remember to be you and show up as you. And that authenticity is going to pave the road for your true passions, your true impact, and your life. And that's why we're all here, so really be you, and I take some time, reflect, who are you? What do you care about? And then you can bring that and bring your whole true self. And then the piece of advice that I have received that has been really powerful for me, as a recovering perfectionist, is show up. You gotta just show up, for somebody that wants it to be done just right, just perfect. If I don't have it that way, I get scared and I don't want to go, and I don't want to show up, and I don't want to say, oh, I don't have this all the way, or I didn't do this all the way, or it's not perfect. I get really afraid of that. The best thing you can do for yourself and those around you is just show up, keep showing up. So I mean, I just thank you guys all for showing up today. You're already doing it. I'm just so grateful to be here and so inspired by all the youth here that are showing up and already putting that well into place. So keep it up.
The perfect comment really resonated with me, Camille, because years ago somebody told me done is better than perfect. Because just like you, I was a perfectionist. But they said done is better than perfect. And man, there's no truer statement for me. Get it done, do a good job. But if it's not perfect, it's okay.
Yeah, we're all learning. We're all learning along the way, and everything we can continue to learn. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all figured out. Just keep showing up.
That's right. Very good advice.
I can't think of a better way to close out this amazing conversation. Thank you both. I'm really honored to have shared this space with you and learn from you both. Thank you for all of your amazing leadership and contributions to our communities, to the digital nest, your commitment to our youth. And so thank you again. And we want to encourage everyone to please make sure to check out our keynote speaker. Oh, and we have our esteemed MC here. And I just want to remind all the youth there that Digital Nest is here for you. If you heard something today that inspired you, but you don't know where to start, or you need help discovering who you are, or connecting with a mentor, or identifying your passion, any of the exciting topics that we discussed today, please, contact us. We're here for you. We are your community. And so with that, we'll close it out. Thank you so much, amazing panelists.